Welcome. Some of you didn't come to Majorca, so some of us look a little excessively happy and a little bit brown. So, this weekend is drop table. Anybody didn't know that? No, everybody's aware. So, this is a picture of J. Clay Thompson, who is the originator of drop table adjusting. And I wanted to start with this piece of understanding of how you view yourself. What matters most is how you see yourself. I thought this was a best representation. I love this picture of the cat seeing itself as a lion. Because who you are is who you decide to be. And this has a lot to do with your practice. Because when people come in and see you, they're not judging your chiropractic skills, they're just feeling out who you are as a human being. You all understand that, right? Yes? No? Mm-hmm. And so I thought I'd go even further with another cat. I thought that was hilarious. You know? A whole slew of German shepherds looking at the cat walking across. That's what I call confidence. I like it. The truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off. We have varying degrees of truth that we live in our lives, because what is truth? Truth is whatever story you believe at that moment of time in your life, right? When I was a child, my truth was a fat man in a red suit came down the chimney and left gifts under the table. That was a truth, right? I believe that. So as we move along in life, we're seeking truth. You know, people say that we're in the information age, and I think that we've moved past that. I think the information age was in the 80s and 90s, because we have instantaneous access to information in milliseconds anytime we want it. I think we're really in an age where people are seeking truth. In what? In everything. Right? People are constantly trying to find out what the truth is in everything. And nowhere is that more apparent than in the healthcare system. Right? Because we've been living for the last 80 years under a system that has nothing to do with nature. And people are seeking out other things. Nowhere more apparent than Germany, where if you look for an Allgemeinarzt in any city in Germany, a general practitioner, and try to find one that only does that, how many would you find? They all do something else, right? Natural therapy, chirotherapy, colon hydrotherapy. Everybody's doing something else, right? Most medical doctors aren't working in hospitals. If you look at their sign, there's like 10 or 12 things underneath whatever specialty they have. So even within the system, even you sitting in this room, what are you doing here? You're seeking another truth. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? And within chiropractic, just in the last week, the six largest chiropractic colleges in Europe have issued a paper that subluxation is no longer a part of their educational curriculum. The cornerstone, the foundation of what built and sustained a profession for more than 100 years and kept it alive. The Europeans are saying, no thank you. We want to be practitioners of musculoskeletal disorders. We want to be more like medicine. We want to give drugs. We want to treat patients for symptoms. Which is fairly ironic that I have a group of you in here that are in that system at the top of the food chain and want to move away from that to serve human beings at the highest level with your hands to remove interference to the neurological system, which we call subluxations in chiropractic. And the profession as a whole, globally, is trying to move away from that. So chiropractic as a profession is trying to move back into the dark ages, where medicine as a system is trying to move away from. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? So when people learn this, it first pisses them off. I've been getting a lot of emails and have a lot of people on Facebook communicate how angry they are at what's going on in the chiropractic profession. And it doesn't make me angry because I say it's always been like this and it always will. Why? Because every truth has to do with people's own experience. So there are chiropractors that go to school that don't really learn the essence of what chiropractic is. It's basically most schools, especially the European ones, are quasi-medical programs that are teaching people to look at the body the way medicine looks at the body in a very mechanistic way and apply treatment and remedies. So if they haven't had an experience where chiropractic has changed their lives, and they haven't changed any lives with chiropractic themselves, their truth is that the things that we see in our offices every day just simply are not happening. And we're full of crap. That we're dinosaurs and we should go away practicing under some philosophy that some fishmonger in 1895 in Iowa came up with. When in fact, if you read the first page of D.D. Palmer's book, and just the first few sentences, every single thing he stated in 1895 has been completely proven by neurological science in the last 20 years. The first statement that D.D. Palmer says, life is based on tone. Everybody knows that. All science has moved away from the research model for the last 30 years of doing randomized clinical controlled studies on drugs treating a disease. That's gone, that's dead. They've been doing research on the mind-body connection, and the greatest neurological research ever done has been done by drug companies. Some of the greatest studies done in understanding how the nervous system actually works have literally been produced by pharmaceutical companies because they have the research to look and see how everything works, and they need to discover this to realize what chemical compounds, what they can do to alter the human functioning. So D.D. Palmer said, chiropractic unites man the spiritual with man the physical. And then he states in the next sentence, the word spiritual has nothing to do with religion. But chiropractic is removing the interference from that which animates life. In chiropractic, we call it the innate intelligence. Religions call it the soul. Whatever it is you want to call it, that which animates this meat and the meat. We understand from Bruce Lipton's research that there are receptor proteins in the brain. Science cannot come up with where they're receiving these messages from. Those that understand human life understand where those messages are coming from. They're coming from our innate. So we know where the landing site are and the receptor sites in the brain that receive messages that control and organize the nervous system, which controls and regulates every single cell and tissue in the human body. So even though we have a greater understanding today than ever before on how the neurological system works and the fact that it governs the entire human system, the profession, the only profession in the world that's been dedicated to science, art, and philosophy of finding and removing that neurological interference between the brain and the body, that system as a whole, the majority of practitioners would like to give that up and practice under a medical model of applying a treatment, therapy, or remedy to a symptom or disease or dysfunction in the human body, which in the greater scheme of things, you would think these people were insane, right? Any rational person understanding anything about the human body would want to participate at the highest possible level, wouldn't you? At least me, I want to work with the boss. I'm not interested in lower systems. If you want to go and wank on the musculoskeletal system, go ahead. I say that's what the physical therapists are for. They're very good at that. They're trained to work specifically on the meat. And there's a lot of them that are very good at that. So why would you want to reduce yourself to being in that population of, at least in Germany, I think they're pumping something out like 80,000 new physical therapists every year. There's tens of thousands of good therapists right down the street treating pain. There's very, very, very few people left turning on the power of life. There are 100,000 doctors of chiropractic on the planet Earth, and maybe there's a handful of them still practicing what chiropractic was designed as. And last night we were talking about science, being scientific. What is an immutable law of science? That it never changes. So when people argue with me and say, I've had chiropractors who don't believe in chiropractic and say, I want to be evidence-based. I want to be scientific. What is scientific? The true definition of science is it doesn't change over time, right? And I would argue that the only healthcare system in the world that's scientific is chiropractic. Why? Because the parts don't change, right? Human beings are not evolving away from the anatomy and physiology that nature created us as, right? The way you move an atlas today is no different than moving an atlas in any country in the world or any time in human history. People are people, right? Regardless of what we believe or what level of technology, the human body is made of 206 movable parts called bones connected by 639 muscles controlled by 31 nerves, connecting the brain with everything else. So in its essence, as a chiropractor, a true chiropractor, you're just a hand worker clearing out those pathways so the body can function the way it was designed. Because people are asking me every day when they come to me with symptoms or disease, is this normal? And I used to have long discussions with people until I finally realized the true answer is no. Normal is optimal functioning, right? Does everybody understand that? Homeostasis, which is a balance of functioning in the human body. When you buy a new car, why? Because it's designed for everything to function perfectly, right? It's designed to function perfectly. And if you don't take care of it, it falls apart over time. This is the way the human body is. We're designed to function perfectly. We're designed to function at a high level. Disease and dysfunction are only mechanisms of survival. The body's only job is survival. So when the body falls apart over time and people show up in your office and they have a disease or a symptom and say, is this normal? No, it's not normal. But it's also not something going wrong. Nothing goes wrong in the human body. Everything is perfect for the body's present needs. What are the body's needs? If you're alive, your body's needs are to survive, to breathe in and out, to beat your heart, to replace cells. That's the body's only job, is to survive. So everything the body's doing is a mechanism of survival, of daily life. So as people don't take care of those factors of health, the nervous system being the system that determines the length of your life and the quality of your life, putting good food in, getting proper movement, having good thoughts in your head, and getting proper rest, these are the tools that nature gave us to function optimally. And that is normal. Everything else is a process of wasting away, because there's only two stages of living in human life. You're either wasting away and degenerating, or you're regenerating. There is no holding pattern. That doesn't exist. Now, people that believe that exist, they're not healthy. And they may argue with that, and I just say, good luck with that. You get one life and no second chances. There's healthy and there's unhealthy. That's it. There's no in between. When you are truly comfortable with who you are, not everybody will like you, but you won't care about it one bit. Most people in my profession have lots of negative things to say about me, and I really don't care. I only care about one thing, and that is the outcome of what happens with patients. That's it. It's my only motivation. I don't care how other people practice. If you want to use chiropractic as a modality to treat people and treat pain, that's on you. I always say this: if you're going to be a therapist, take a look at the research. Research has been done in many countries over many years researching what is the most effective pain therapy. It's been tested: spinal manipulation, cortisone shots, electrostim, everything. And what wins every single time? Doing nothing. The single most, everybody understands that? Doing nothing or placebo, which is what? Doing nothing. So if you're a therapist, understand you are less than nothing. Less. Because nothing is a most effective strategy for treating pain. So if you want to come in with your therapy or modality, nothing is here, here's where you're at. You are less than nothing. Nothing is beating you. Right? And the thing is, if you all adopt that, if philosophy doesn't appeal to you, maybe you want to win. Right? Maybe you want to be a winner. You can't be a winner if you're less than nothing, can you? If nothing is beating you, you might want to change your strategies. Right? Because you may be able to give somebody a drug or a therapy and metaphorically, wank their bodies a little bit and make them feel better. But a glass of vodka will make people feel better too, or maybe 2 or 3. The difference with the vodka is the bill's going to come due within 24 hours. Some drugs take a little longer for you to feel the after effects. My point being is that if you want to be liked by a dog, dogs will like you even if you kick them in the head. And I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying that if your motivation is to be liked, you should become a bartender. Because people like those that are pouring them drinks. Right? The motivation in practice should be the health outcome of your patients. And that first starts with educating them. And educating people is difficult because most people don't understand how the human body functions. So you have to have some measure of confrontational tolerance, of telling people things they do not want to hear. Because the basic human emotion that's been taught to people their whole lives is all you need to do is feel good. This is 95% of the Western world's motivation, is they just want to feel good. That's most people's definition of health. I ask every new patient, what is health? Please tell me in 10 words or less. Most people start with feeling good. There is no medical definition in the world that doesn't specifically state that what you feel has nothing to do with health. Nothing. The absence of symptoms or disease has nothing to do with your health. Health has to do with the optimal functioning of the system. So how do we communicate that with people? We have to tell them things that contradicts their belief system. And most people's belief systems are much stronger than the truth of how life works. So there's a disconnect between what people want and what they need. And your ability to bridge that gap of communication will determine the outcome of how healthy your patients will become. And this is why this is very important to understand, because I know a lot of chiropractors that are great chiropractors in their skills, but they're so weak as human beings, they're so terrified of rejection that they will simply not tell patients the truth because they do not want to create a confrontation with another human being. So if you're not willing to have confrontation, you're never going to be an effective doctor. Because the word doctor means teacher, which means your primary responsibility is first teaching people what health is and what it's not. Because how can anyone ever become healthy if they don't know what it is? Right? If you tell someone to meet you in Paris at a certain date and a certain time and they don't know where it is and have no map to get there, what are the chances they're going to show up? That would be 0. So if a human being doesn't understand what health is, they're never going to be healthy. But they're taught if you feel good, you're healthy. Well, you can feel good with whiskey or cocaine. Does that mean you're healthy if you're taking whiskey and cocaine? Some people have never heard it that way. That's what I say to people. If your only motivation is to feel good, this might not be the right thing for you, because when you're getting healthy, when you're on the path to health, your body might be going through things and you're going to feel stuff. Healing includes feeling. So, I just had a patient the other day, went to this silent screening of a Charlie Chaplin movie with a symphony playing. He said it was really fantastic. So I thought this was beautiful. As for politics, I'm an anarchist. I hate governments and rules and fetters. Can't stand caged animals. People must be free. Charlie Chaplin was a conservatively, traditionally trained actor.
What are fetters? Fetters?
I'm not actually sure what that word means. I'm not actually that smart, and most of you speak better English than me because I grew up in the American education system.
Is another one.
A what?
Picadillo.
Picadillo.
Disturbance.
Okay.
I would just say the basic idea is Charlie Chaplin believed in freedom, and freedom comes from the inside. Freedom is not given from a government. Every government has rules on society and how we can live and what we can do. But freedom has to do with how you allow rules to be imposed on yourself from the outside. For example, if you get up in the morning and you're making a choice of how you're going to look based on what other people think, you're a slave. Do you understand? If you're living your life based on what you perceive others might think of you, you're a slave. You're not free, and it has nothing to do with the government. Every day I live my life based on what I believe is important. I don't really care what other people think. Some people will like me, some won't. There's nothing I can do to influence one way or another. So I do what I believe to serve people and serve my family and community, and if people don't like it, I don't give a shit. That's just me. And this is basically the concept of what he's saying in just much more eloquent words. He was British, not American. And Charlie Chaplin couldn't make a living as an actor in Britain. He was a conservatively trained, traditional actor. And when he came to Hollywood, I just read a little thing about him the other day, this is why I know, that he had an idea that he wasn't appealing to anybody. He wasn't a good-looking fellow. He wasn't physically impressive. He didn't have really skills, outward skills that drew people to him. So he decided that he was going to live on the outside and become a character of who he was on the inside that was a child. Why? Because he realized people are attracted to children's energy. Why? Because they don't live in a world of bullshit like we do. Children are born into the truth. It takes years to program that out of kids, to become people in the real world. You know, when children are born, if you ever watch children play and what they do, their activities, we're all born as artists. What do you want to do when you're a kid? You want to draw, you want to paint, you want to sing, you want to dance, you want to create poetry. It's not until we go in school and they say, sit down, be quiet, learn some math and science. And they push that creativity and life out of people, and we become slaves. Because they're training what you think about you and how you're imposing rules on yourself. This is what Charlie Chaplin decided he wasn't going to live under. He decided people must be free, but it had nothing to do with the government. Do you all understand that? This is not a political statement, because he said as for politics, he's an anarchist. He doesn't believe in any of it. So He's not for or against anything. He doesn't give a shit. What he wants to do is be who he is. And if you watch some of his movies, and these were silent movies before speaking, so most people think he's American, but he was actually British. But you don't know that because he had been in America for a long time before the talking movies started, and then he developed his American accent. But yeah, his characters came from him acting out based on the emotions of being a child and being free. And that's how he lived his life. So that's a pretty good idea, because this is the hardest thing I'm dealing with most chiropractors that I know, that has nothing to do with their technique or their education, but their perception of the world around them and how they view themselves, where their fears come from, and the fact that they can't be free, and it has nothing to do with the government or any political organizations. Because here's the thing in chiropractic, political organizations and educational institutions are absolutely irrelevant. They mean nothing. Everybody has to go to school and you get your piece of paper, but how you determine how you practice is a decision for you. People within education, people within political organizations don't make a living taking care of patients. This is why they want to change everything. They want to impose their rules because if they could be productive as practitioners, they wouldn't be in political organizations. Because people that can be productive are productive. People who can't want to become political so they can live their lives telling you how you can practice. So these people are irrelevant if you understand the bigger picture. What matters is that human relationship you have with your patients. Not any political organization, not any educational institution, because they simply don't matter. Even if you go to a school and it has no philosophy in anything, you decide what you think and feel. Nobody decides that for you. That's what freedom is. So these little political organizations, they can write their little papers, but they mean nothing. They're insignificant. These are not important people. They've never made a living doing this. I make a living standing over a table. Human beings come in and pay me for a service to turn on the power of life. That's where the power is. Power is not in political organizations. They are absolutely irrelevant, and I encourage everybody not to waste their time even engaging in these less than significant people, because they have no power. They do not determine the outcome of what a patient encounter is. They try to influence young minds, and some young minds are so weak, they think these people have some kind of importance. It's called the illusion of power. It's the same thing I say about the United Nations. Where does the United Nations get their power from? From the illusion that they're in charge, right? Political organizations are an illusion. They say they have power, so if you let that happen, they have power. But where does the power lie? The power lies in an interaction between human beings, and that's all that matters. These political organizations are useless. They're never going to make a difference. And if people would just wake up to that fact, we wouldn't have political problems. Because I feel the same way. I'm a political anarchist. I believe if you get a group of people together, a group of men, and somebody can be in charge, all groups become corrupt over time. Everything. I don't care if it's a group of plumbers getting together and electing somebody president. Eventually, some egomaniac is going to write policy papers on how people that are working among that group can do their job. This is why political groups are insignificant. They have no power, only the power of the illusion that's given to them. They don't matter. What matters is how you feel about you, and that you understand that freedom comes from you. Nobody gives you freedom. You decide you're free in here. It doesn't make any difference what people say to you. It makes a difference what you think. And that the ultimate judge of you should be you and not anybody else. Who gives a shit what other people think of you? Some will like you, some won't. You shouldn't care. That is true freedom. So I had to follow up with this. I love the ones who are in my life and make it amazing. And I thank the ones who left my life and made it even more fantastic. When you truly live free, you're going to be a person who puts out an energy and resonance in the universe that you are a giving, caring, loving human being. And there are always going to be parasites that are going to come and try to feed off of that energy. This is always how it's been, and it's always going to be that way. The important thing is, bless you, the important thing is you have to think about this like a garden. When you have a garden, you're growing beautiful flowers and things, you yank out the weeds. We call it pruning. So you prune your garden. You need to prune your life. You keep people moving in and out of your life that are not a force for anything but negativity or misery. Misery loves company. Miserable people want to give you the disease of misery because they want you to be miserable too. Get these people out of your life as quickly as possible. Chink, chink, deleted. Next. There are 7 billion people on the planet. If you have shitty people in your life, get new people. Don't think about it. Don't have a meeting. Get rid of them today. Call up and say, I'm sorry. I don't want you in my life anymore. Lose my number. Clink. That's how simple it is. Surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers, the believers and the thinkers. But most of all, surround yourself with those that see the greatness within you, even when you don't see it yourself. The potential inside every human being is the same. Some people, that's a hard concept. Greatness and genius is inside of every one of you. Wake up. Nobody has something more than you don't have. Don't make crumb fodder sitting right in front of me. That's a bad thing. Do you all understand that? Some of you may not be at this awareness yet, but every one of you have the potential to be the person in your community that people come to have their lives change. Regardless of what political insignificant assholes tell you what you can and can't do, your potential is to make a difference in people's lives. There are thousands and thousands of therapists down the street from where every one of you live. How many people in your community are turning on the power of life? Most chiropractors don't even believe that that's possible. It's pathetic, yes, and it's always been like this, and it always will be. But the potential for every chiropractor is to be a beacon of light and be a beacon of truth and information to help people get healthy and stay healthy and to live an optimal life. Because the nervous system not only determines when you die, it determines the quality of your life. There's a reason the words happy and healthy go together. Have any of you ever met a really happy, sick person? Anybody? When you meet people and they have charisma, they have something. Somebody walks into the room and it's so powerful, you just turn. These are healthy, powerful, happy people. You can feel the energy, they're bumping into you from across the room. That's not possible without taking care of all factors of health. Surround yourself with these people, and if you don't have any, build them. Do you understand what I mean? Build them. You know, when I came to Europe, I realized how crappy the level of chiropractic was, and I could complain and go, I just said, you know, I learned from my father in the military at a young age, if you want something done, do it yourself. I want good chiropractors, I'm just going to build them myself. Build them from scratch. So, if you don't have good people in your life, build them. Find some people that have potential and start your renovation project tomorrow or Monday. Your life has purpose. Your story is important. Your dreams count. Your voice matters. You were born to make an impact. Some of you may or may not even realize that yet. That something bigger than us selected us to play at the highest level. Do you understand what I mean? I can't think for a moment that my insignificant, stupid mind made a choice. I had to be selected. Why? I don't know. I don't care. I'm just glad that I'm on the playing field, metaphorically. That what's the greatest impact you can have? You want to be the master of back pain? How many of you just dream of being the master of back pain or headaches? Do you understand what I mean? These are insignificant dreams and goals. When I was a bartender, I was the master of pain. I could take anybody's pain away in 3 drinks or less. I could mix you a cocktail no matter, I found out whether you like creamy, bitter, sweet, salty, whatever it was. I only needed to know what your taste buds were, and I could make you feel better in 1 hour. I don't care what your problem was, what your pain was, I could make you feel better in 3 drinks or less. I was the master of pain. So it's very easy to be a master of pain with chemicals. I know, I did it as a bartender. I'm not interested as a chiropractor. I want people to satisfy me, not by telling me that their pain is gone. And I don't mean that's my goal for them to satisfy me. I will restate that. When patients come into me and they've had things degenerating, wasting away symptoms for 10, 20 years, what I say to them is, your immediate need in your brain is you want the pain all to go away, and that's normal. None of us want to live with pain, right? I'm not saying I want people to live in pain, but you can feel better from chemicals, or you can feel better as a result of functioning well. So it's very important to connect with people's motivation. I say to patients, when your symptoms are all gone, when, not if, when your symptoms are all gone, you're going to be completely satisfied, and I'm not. And they're always waiting for it. Wait for it, wait for it. Hagen, maybe you can stay back there so you're not walking in and out. So I tell them, I'm going to be satisfied when you come in and tell me that you feel like you're 10, 20, 30 years younger. Because when people feel pain over a sustained duration of time, they feel older than they actually are. Right? All of you experienced this? Experience this yourself? When you have pain, you feel like an old opa? I joke about it, but I actually never feel that way. But I joke about it. Oh, I joke about it with my kids. Oh, I'm old. But I never feel old. But I see the gray coming in on my face and think, okay, I'm getting older. I just don't feel older. And I function in my head as a child, so I refuse to get older in my head. But back to this. Every one of you, I'm hoping for you that you understand a bigger role in your lives and in your community of actually making an impact, of doing something bigger than ourselves. Because at some point in life, most human beings, and I'm saying most, some never discover this, is that we are put here to serve something bigger than ourselves. And the one thing I've learned in my life is meeting a lot and talking with a lot of older people that feel like they had full and rich lives, did something in their lives to serve other human beings. Because there's something within us that makes us want to do stuff, anything, for other people. And when you begin to practice chiropractic according to the laws of nature, not according to the laws of man, and you're helping people become what I call is normal, optimal functioning, a state of optimal health, in my opinion, is how we were designed to function. Not just feeling no pain, because you can do that with some chemicals, but when you help people attain a level of health and a state of being that they never knew was possible, you know that you're making an impact, because they're not going to get that anywhere. Even the other people that call themselves chiropractors in your communities, that are part of these organizations that are in charge, those people tell their patients that that's not possible. I know myself in the years I've been in Germany, I've sent patients and patients' relatives to other chiropractic offices in Germany and in Europe that had different neurological diseases and dysfunctions where they were told by the chiropractor that there's nothing chiropractic could do for them, that they needed medicine. Was I shocked? Yes, but I understand. Most chiropractors, like I say to everybody, 95% of doctors of everything are useless in every profession because most people don't care about people. They're just in business to offer whatever service or product that they're peddling, but they don't really care if patients have any change in their life. Their goal in life is not to make an impact. They're just in survival mode. They just want to pay their bills, feed their family, and live their life. But if you think bigger than yourself, that you actually want to make an impact, guess what? You're going to make an impact. You can change people's lives, but only those that are in front of you. I don't believe in these philosophies of go out and save the world. That's a ridiculous idea. The only thing you can do is have an impact to those lives that are standing in front of you. But a lot of people jerk off their minds and say, oh, I want to save the planet. Really? Really? Do something that you can actually do. It's one thing to put a shirt on and hold up a banner, but actually do something and actually make an impact. Not talk about it and then go to the bar and talk about what great people you are because you held a sign up or you signed a petition. That doesn't do shit. It makes no difference whatsoever. It's just people jerking each other off emotionally, pretending that they're making an impact. I would actually like people to make an impact. If every human being on the planet made an impact on one human being, all of life would get better. And that's the truth. You don't need to make an impact on the whole world. Impact one human being, and that's making a difference. Help one person live a better life. Start with that. And everything will get better. I actually made this one up for Victor. I'm so hardcore, my workout clothes should come with a cape. That wasn't for me, I made that for Victor for the wellness week, and I never got to it, so I thought I'd bring it in. And I left this here. So, those of you that didn't come to the Healing Fest, I only do this for one reason, that every person that's doing this needs to take care of themselves. There are many people that do these things, and I always say there are three types of seminars. There are seminars you go where you're learning something. There are seminars where you're going where people are just talking and making themselves feel good about whatever they want to feel good about. And then there's seminars to go to actually make an impact on you, where the whole focus is just elevating you. And before you go to these seminars where you're just standing around telling each other how important and wonderful you are, you should make it a priority once a year, because you're working on human beings, and how good you are at that depends on where you're at. You are the vessel. If you are a crispy excuse for what used to be a human being, you're going to make an impact on nobody, because you can't take someone beyond the level you're at. And to go back to all these politically insignificant people, this is what I say. If you want to know how important a chiropractor is, get on the table and let them adjust you, and there's the measuring stick. Forget about what their politics, whatever their philosophy is. Get on the table, feel their spine also. Take a look at them and ask if you want to be at that level. You cannot bring someone beyond the level that you're at. So if you're just a crispy excuse of what used to be a human being, you're not going to help anybody. So get work done. There are many people doing many different ways. I was having a discussion with my CAs the other day that there's all kinds of different ways to get people to experience what you experience in Majorca. I use very intense exercise twice a day to break people, to get them out of their body and their heads, and then I'm working on people neuroemotionally. So there's the physical and there's the spiritual. There's both that are being worked on to take people to another level. There are many different ways to do that. Do you understand what I mean? Those aren't the only ways. Those are just the ways I like to. You know, there are people that go in different regions and do different things. I do programs the way I like it. I like to do really intense exercise where I feel like I might have a heart attack or my spine might fall apart. I like to eat really good food and stay in a nice place and have a beautiful environment. So choose somebody's thing at least once a year to go get yourself worked on. You need to learn stuff, yes. You need yourself functioning at the highest possible level. And lastly, after you've taken care of that, you can go to these seminars where you stand around and tell each other how important you are. So, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. To me, along with D.D. Palmer, Nikola Tesla was maybe one of the greatest geniuses. It'll take generations before the genius is truly understood about these two men. First, D.D. Palmer of understanding how the human body actually worked, and Nikola Tesla for understanding how everything else worked. But you can see by this, everything means people too. And energy, frequency, and vibration. Remember the times that D.D. Palmer and Tesla were talking about this, when people were going to work on a horse, right? If you talk about this today, people might think you're a freak. But imagine when people were going to work on a horse, right? This has all been proven true. Energy, frequency, vibration. That's all it is. I just read some research last week. The latest research from geneticists are now just proving what these geniuses knew hundreds of years ago, is that DNA and the smallest possible structure in our bodies are sound waves. Same thing a lot of people have been telling people for a long time, but that's the latest news from the genetics researchers. And I loaded this up on Facebook if you want to see this research. Whenever I find something, I try to load it up so people can read it. Also, some of you appreciate the research that came out from scientists that the more you come as men, the better your prostate functions. That's not some crazy theory from me. Somebody told me at dinner last night they liked that piece of research. Absolutely true. So, what does this have to do with? I think this is important for chiropractors to understand. The ones that truly understand what chiropractic is, this is what we're working on. If you're truly working on a human being making a difference, your intention has to be as deep as your belief system. And I started when I was a very small child playing the violin, so I understood frequency and vibration at a very young age. I still have people I knew since I was a kid, because I was playing in a symphony when I was 10 years old, and people thought I would be a violinist. So people ask, do you still play your violin? And I say, no, I play a much bigger instrument. Because in my head, when I'm working on a human being, I am tuning the instrument of life metaphorically, just like you tune a violin before you play it, or anybody that's ever played a stringed instrument. You're tuning the instrument first. You're setting the frequency and resonant vibration to a perfect tone. This is my focus as a chiropractor. I'm not worried about the bones. I'm not a pharynkerin. I'm using the physical me as a lever to balance the frequency and resonant energy of the human body, just like one would tune an instrument. So human beings at the smallest possible level, and this is not speculative theory, but scientific fact, is what we can see at the smallest possible level is sound waves. That's what we're actually composed of. Our smallest matter is energy, frequency, and vibration. And like I said, this is the latest thing to come out of science This guy knew it a long time ago, and so did D.D. Palmer. The foundation of the entire chiropractic profession was based on one idea. Life was founded on tone. It had nothing to do with subluxation or back pain. Energy, frequency, and vibration. And I thought I'd follow this up with a quote from Darwin. It is not the strongest, the species that survives. Because people quote Darwin. What are you doing?
I just want to turn it on because you can't see the slides.
Okay, well, you turn the lights off then. We'll get that last slide in. So it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. This quote really appeals to me because I know that most human beings, you can turn those lights back on. I know that most human beings are more intelligent than I am. I've always known that. And that's not me being humble. All through my life in academics, I had to work harder for every grade that I earned. Some people are just really brilliant and they just learn something and regurgitate it. I had to outwork people. I had the gift of being able to adapt and be disciplined and focused. So this really appeals to me. And if you're super intelligent, this might really bother you a little bit. Because you think that intelligence is your edge. But the potential inside of all of us is the same. But understanding our ability to adapt and change to any situation is really what life is all about, right? Because adaptability has to do with human life. Because the body's only job is to survive. So everything the body goes through is what? Adaptation. The body's job is to adapt the internal environment to the external environment. It's the only reason we have vocal cords. Because at the core of human life, what are we? We're a nervous system, the only system in the human body completely protected by bone. What do we have these limbs for? For moving around the nervous system and putting things in to give the nervous system energy. That's it. We are a nervous system. Everything else is secondary to that hierarchical structure that is the only system in the human body completely protected by bone. Nature designed us that way for a reason. It's not by accident. All the rest of the organs are quasi-protected by bones. There's a rib cage, but it's not complete bone protection, right? The things that aren't protected by bone are the least significant things as far as what's important to human life. Everybody understand that? Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to argue or fight? And I don't know if I chose this slide because the beautiful girl in the picture or the quote. We're back to the basics. Health is not merely the absence of disease. It is all of the body working at 100%. This is a concept where most people might look at and go, but not really understand how it relates to them. Because what is the body working at 100%? Is it just feeling good? Is it having no disease? Or is it functioning at the highest possible level? What's the difference between functioning at 20% and 100%? No human being knows that until they've experienced it. This is the difficult thing. When you tell somebody a new idea, they only can relate to their experience. So when you tell somebody something that they've never heard before, they want to relate it to something they already know in their head, right? I see people doing this a lot when I explain to them chiropractic for the first time. They're like, yeah, that's just like preventative medicine, right? No. That's just like my osteopathy. Oh yeah, my Krankengymnastic does that. I always say, look, if you were healthy, you wouldn't be in my office, right? Is that sarcasm? Sure, that's me. but that is a truth. Right? If somebody was healthy, they wouldn't be sitting in front of me seeking out something else. Because what are people looking for? Like I started this in the beginning, my opinion is we're living in an age where people are on a quest for the eternal search for truth. Just last week, the first day I came back from Mallorca, I had a woman as a first visit in my office that had been to every chiropractor in Hamburg. Everyone. And now she's sitting in front of me. And of course, in my head, I'm laughing a little bit, like, I thought about this commercial in the United States in the 1980s or 1990s. Cadillac made a commercial, and I thought it was one of the coolest commercials I ever saw. There was no talking, no people. It just showed a Cadillac slicing through the morning on a foggy morning, just the sun was coming up. Whew. And you just heard the sounds as the car was coming by. Beautiful shots with beautiful backgrounds. It didn't show any people, it didn't say any words. And the sentence came across the bottom of the screen. Drive everything else. And then at the end it shows a Cadillac driving off in the horizon. And then it said, then come drive a Cadillac. And I thought, what a beautiful concept. Genius, isn't it? Go try everything else. Then come see me. You've tried all the lesser people who aren't trying to make any difference whatsoever. You've had your spine jerked off by all the good people in town that know how to jerk off the spine and give you the right rubby-dubby and stick needles in and give you some pills. When you're ready to have the power of life turned on and get healthy, call me. That is the attitude that I hope that every chiropractor would adopt. Yeah. Go see all the crappy people in town. And I don't say that verbally, I'm only thinking in my head. Because what I'm in awe of, being an American practicing in Germany, is that Germans will try everybody. In the culture I grew up in, most people go to a chiropractor, have a bad experience. You know what they say? Chiropractic sucks. Yeah. So I'm in awe when I have a human being sitting before me that's been to everybody that says they're a chiropractor and they didn't get turned off from chiropractic because they were smart enough to know this was a shitty chiropractor. Let me find a better one. And I try to tell Americans when I talk to them that had a bad experience with chiropractic, I always relate it to food. Because, this isn't from McDonald's. I ask people, have you ever had bad Italian food? Yes. But did you stop eating Italian food after that and say Italian food sucks? There's good and bad in everything. And in healthcare, most practitioners in healthcare are useless. That's my own opinion. Feel free to formulate your own opinion. But for me, most people doing everything in healthcare is useless because they don't really care about what they do. They're not looking to make an impact. They just have a job. A J-O-B job. And that's not inspiring to anybody, is it? You know, I have a friend who's an engineer who just got his PhD in engineering. And about a month ago, we went out and I met a friend of mine for dinner who brought along his nephew who's just entering engineering. And he was so passionate about engineering, I was in awe. And I said to my friend, we need to remember this kid's name because he's going to change the world somehow. You know, he was like, engineers are the architects of a brand new world. I was in awe. I'm like, wow, who is this kid? You know, and my buddy who's got a PhD in engineering was kind of like, you know, oh, because he never felt that way about engineering. And he wants to be a chiropractor now because he wants to change the world with his hands. So here's this young kid who's just in his first or second year of engineering school who wants to change the world with engineering. And I think this is beautiful. Why can't everybody be passionate about what they do? Who cares what you do? If you're a dog walker, why can't you think walking dogs is the greatest thing in life to do? This is what people don't have. People have lost their passion for being alive. I love it when I meet people that are just so excited about whatever it is they do. I don't think chiropractic is the thing for everybody. It's definitely the thing for me. It's what makes me human. And everything good in my life comes through chiropractic. I don't know why, that's just the way it is. But do you notice that when you meet people that are really passionate about what they do, you're really drawn into those people? It's exciting. You know, we were a group of older people sitting at a table, listening to this young kid talk about how he's going to change the world with engineering. I was just fascinated because I take care of a lot of engineers. And as a group, they're kind of boring and dull math nerds, you know? And this was a math nerd who's really intelligent, but so passionate, it was contagious. I think it was the first time I'd been out in the evening with a group of people where I didn't get a chance to say one thing about chiropractic. Because normally there's nothing else more exciting to talk about. I got to sit and be entertained by someone else's thing that they're passionate about. Do you know what I mean? This is what I find in life. A lot of times I feel, I can't say I feel the need, but I feel like I need to entertain people with what's interesting to me. And maybe it's just me, but I find most people boring because they're not passionate about anything. Do you understand what I mean? Most people that I find really passionate or group are artists, singers, dancers, people who create things, people who have ideas that function from here and not from here. Because those people that function from here are kind of boring, aren't they? You know, I call them theory people. Boring. For me. Boring, dull. It's like having a piece of toast with no butter or jam. Dry toast, like the color gray. Boring. Dull. Uninteresting. Unpassionate. Walking dead people. Those are the kind of people that are boring to me. So, anybody have any questions? I'm just seeing how much further I want to go. Okay, I just wanted to go over this one, and I show this all the time because I think this is so true. What I was just talking about, physical attractions are common, right? There's a lot of hot people in the world, right? There's a lot of good-looking men and good-looking women. So it's easy to be attracted to whatever you're attracted to physically, right? You can walk around and see maybe 20, 30, 100 people in a day that physically are appealing to your eyes. How often do you make mental connections? These are very rare, right? And when I say mental connections, I'm not saying just chiropractic. It's the point I just made about passionate people. I like people who love being alive. Because to me, there's a difference of living a life and just breathing in and out. Most people are just breathing in and out, and in my opinion, wasting my oxygen. Most chiropractors, chiropractic politicians, people writing policy statements, in my opinion, they're wasting my oxygen, and I'd like them to stop immediately. People who live life, because I ask every patient, are you living the life you've always dreamed of? Most of the time people look at me like I'm crazy and go, no. And I say, what are you waiting for? You're my age. What are you waiting for? Nobody is promised tomorrow. Do any of you think you're guaranteed to wake up tomorrow? If you are, you're delusional. You could get hit by a truck today. You could walk out, get in that elevator, and have it crash on top of you. I hope it doesn't happen, but you need to understand the reality of life is fleeting and it goes by fast. Life is what passes you by while you're busy making plans. I used to have this thing written up on the wall of my office, and my wife made me take it off, called the American Death Ceremony. And it was basically, in a nutshell, it was talking about people that want to go and work, 50 hours a week for 65 years, retire, buy an RV and drive around the country and live a life. But the reality is, with men, if you understand the numbers, 50% of men die within 5 years of retirement. Do all of you know that? Most men retire and die very quickly. So if you're living a life thinking, I'm going to work really hard, then I'm going to retire, and then I'm going to live a life, for most of you, life is going to be over. Because you were so miserable and such empty shells of human beings that life is going to select you for extinction as soon as you're no longer contributing for the widgets you were making or whatever else. Whatever purpose you were serving, it wasn't bigger than you. So when that's done, time to go. And that's not up to me, that's up to your maker. But the point is, look at the numbers. The data does not lie. Most men that retire die soon after. So maybe, just maybe, you want to start living your life today. Not tomorrow, not next week, because nobody's promised tomorrow or next week. And like I said, if you have crappy people in your life, get rid of them. Get new ones. If you're hanging around politicians and left brain theory people that like to write up policies on paper, get rid of those people. Because all they're doing is taking up valuable space on the planet and using up our good oxygen. That's only my opinion, but that's the way I feel about those people. And find people that are happy to be alive. Some people are grateful for every day. I'm grateful for every day I'm alive. Every day above ground is a beautiful day. Whether the weather's good or not, some people attach their emotions to weather too. They're so miserable that and what happens when you attach your emotions to the weather? You're never satisfied. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too dry, it's too wet. What happens is your movie every day is whining about whatever the environmental conditions are. Right? You all know people like this. Some of you may be people like this. You get up in the morning and start your list of, let me make my list of everything to complain about today. Woo-hoo! I'm a misery monger. Let me go make some other human beings miserable, because that's really fun. Every day you have a choice. You can get up and say, I'm going to be one miserable bastard today. And most people do this. They don't realize they made that decision because it's not conscious, it's their subconscious. Because yesterday they were a miserable bastard, and the day before that they were miserable bastards. And these people generally like to tell you everything that's wrong with you and how you should live your life. Why are they doing that? Because they have no lives themselves. Right? Because what comes out of people's mouth, the bullshit that flows off of people's lips, is really coming from what's inside them. So when people tell you how you can live your life or what you should do, that as a direct reflection of what they do. This is why I try to share with people how I'm trying to live my life. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm one of the few happy people I know. I don't know a lot of happy people. But generally, the happy people I've met in my life are kind of similar in the fact that we're grateful for every day and we're passionate about something. Because those that aren't, what's the purpose of them getting out of bed in the morning? If you're not serving something greater than you, why get out of bed? Why breathe in and out, and why waste my good oxygen? Right? That's how I feel about it anyway. Okay, so everybody take a little break, get something to drink, make pee-pee, then we'll get started with Thompson.